Hi, lovelies. I'm Queen Lovely. Welcome back to Melanated Crowns. And if this is your first time, welcome. So I will be doing a comprehensive review of Jessie Woo's sit-down interview with Tasha K. Before I get into this video, please hit the thumbs up if you like what you hear and see during the video, after the video, or even right now. Subscribe. It is free 99 and hit and enable that notification bell. And be sure to leave a comment and let me know what you think. Please remain respectful to me and the individuals who I'm talking about. Don't bring that messy shit over here, that stand shit. You don't have to agree. You don't have to like who I'm talking about. You don't even have to like me. Just keep it respectful, okay? Grown women and grown men only, all right? So let's just get into this interview. And I'm going to talk about everything that Jessie Woo spoke about, for the mere factor that, for those of you that don't know, Melanated Crowns is a legitimate spiritual advising business, okay? I am studying, starting in September, to be a social worker. I'm going to be concentrating in mental health of adolescents and young adults. This is something near and dear to me due to my personal experiences, my personal trials and tribulations with mental health, as well as my mother's and other people near and dear to me. I believe that if we are able to identify certain patterns very early on, it will make better for us as we go into young adulthood and grown adulthood, and be able to identify those patterns so that we could prevent certain things from happening. And that's just something very near and dear to me. Melanated Crowns is all about helping Black women obtain and sustain mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. And despite how I may feel about Jessie Woo and how she presents and her actions, she is a Black woman. And after listening to this interview and getting more insight on some of the things that she's been through, I feel like it's only right and fair, especially to go in alignment with the integrity of this platform and my business, to, just be fair. It doesn't have to be all about mess. That's not what we're about here. So if you subscribe thinking that every other day I'm going to talk about Cardi and Nicki, you can unsubscribe. If you subscribe thinking this is a roast and gag page, you can unsubscribe. That's not what this YouTube channel is about. There are plenty of YouTubers and vloggers on here. Every now and then I could get a little messy and gag and cut up and kiki, but that's not the sum total of what this page is about. So I just want to clarify that for anybody who's new here. So let's get into the interview. Jessie Woo talks about, her parents or whatever the case may be. And she spends a lot of time, speaking about her father, how her father had a drug abuse problem. And basically she never really had a relationship with him after the parents got divorced when she was 7. And a few years ago when she was in Canada, she just decided to go and look for him. She found him in a rehabilitation center. And he basically already knew that she had status and money and all types of stuff, and told her, like, if you're not here to give me any money, then you can go. They had an argument. It really hurt her feelings because, you know how it is when you just have this idealistic view of reconciling with a parent and then it just not being that. And that really hit home for me because, I remember when my mom had her suicide attempt, and I was going to see her and being very proactive, and she was saying that she wanted to get help and stuff, and I really was just like, okay, oh Lord, I don't want to get emotional. I was just like, okay, like this is it, we're gonna work on our relationship. She's gonna work on herself. I'm gonna continue to work on myself. And then before we could even get to that, she ended up passing away. And, that's not exactly what happened with Jessie Woo, but I can just relate to having a strained relationship with a parent who is fighting a substance abuse issue, which more often than not can be tied to mental illness or some type of chemical imbalance, because substance abuse is a disease, and just it not working out because that person is just gone, you know what I mean, in a mental or an emotional or spiritual capacity. And that was just really hard to hear, and I was able to empathize with her on that. And when she talked about her sexual assault experience, and that was really hard to listen to And my heart broke for her too with that. And she did talk about it on Love and Hip Hop Miami, but to her point, they had cut and spliced a lot of it. And when she finally told the story in its entirety, and I'm not going to get into the details, it kind of makes sense why Jessie Woo has this pick-me type of energy as it relates to how she presents herself to men on the internet, and just some of the things she says and some of the things she co-signs, because something that we know is typically individuals who are a victim of sexual abuse or sexual misconduct in a certain way, depending on how they process that and how they choose to move forward with it, it can manifest in a multitude of ways. But one of the ways it can manifest in, especially when you add that in culmination with her already having abandonment and daddy issues, is you're always vying for male attention in a sense. Or you could become overtly hypersexual because you feel like something was taken from you. So now you want to reclaim it and represent in the way that you see fit. And I also intuitively pick up, because Jessie Woo had that lack of patriarchal energy in her life from what she said, like her dad not being there, and then once again being put in a situation where nobody was there to protect her as she was violated. I also intuitively get that Jessie Woo deep down inside just wants somebody to protect her and rally for her. It's like she's indirectly or subconsciously looking for a father figure in different ways. And granted, with that whole situation with her being sexually assaulted, that was not her fault. She did not deserve that. It breaks my heart that even today, with the individual being in jail because it was the producer detail, I think this is the same person who sexually assaulted Tinashe as well. He had a gang of women, and she said it was over 20 women that came out against him. Y'all can go check it out on, Unwinewithtashak case. She goes into detail. But just, it broke my heart that even while she was telling the story, she still blames herself. And, I just pray to God with the sincerest heart that whatever peace, whatever epiphany, whatever gem, whatever person that God needs to place in her life for her to see like it's not your fault and help her move forward, I hope she gets that, because she deserves that. She did not deserve what happened to her, but she deserves to be able to move forward in every aspect, not just physically, and heal from that. And I sincerely wish that for her. I really do, because you could tell that it still bothers her. And that friend, and I'm only saying allegedly because I wasn't there. I'm not saying Jessie's lying. I believe every word she said, but that friend could go straight the fuck to hell. You gonna convince me because you a thirsty ass fucking groupie to go back to a party. Jessica didn't even want to go to the shit. Then when I get there, you gonna leave me in the room with a bunch of niggas, and then they end up, she insinuated that it was like a, more than one person. Girl, fuck you. So anyways, I just hope that she prays and she heals from that. So then she goes on to talk about her stint on Love and Hip Hop Miami. And remember, that was like a whole big thing because, she always said that I'm going to turn the fan on so y'all may hear it. It's just like too humid and hot. It was like 100 degrees today. That was a whole thing because remember, she said she felt like she was misrepresented on that show. And she went on to break down the different times, like how her and Amada La Negra actually had a sit-down talk, and that was cut out and spliced and whatnot, whatever the case may be. Now, the most interesting part of this interview wasn't even, in my opinion, wasn't even the situation that happened between her and Cardi B. Baby, it was that Karen Civil tea. Now, here's the thing. I didn't know that Karen Civil was suing Jessie Woo for $3 million. I didn't know that. I knew they had the exchange on the internet. I knew Jessie Woo said she was coming out with like a surviving Karen Civil or something. And I think she said she did a whole podcast episode. I never seen or heard it. But apparently, Karen Civil is a Scorpio. And after Jessie Woo outlined what Karen Civil did, I said, that is some Scorpio shit, woo, they be a dog with a bone when you cross them. So apparently, you know, Jessie Woo said that the way in which she got served was Karen Civil like created this fake, it wasn't a fake event, it was like a real event for Trina or whatever the case may be, and Jessie Woo showed up to supposedly host or be a part of it. And the minute she got out the car, somebody had a phone in her face saying like, "Are you Jessie Woo?" And then Jessie Woo was like, "Yeah." And then they was like, "Well, you just been served." And Jessie Woo was confused. And then when she got in the car and read it, she was able to put two and two together. And Jessie Woo is alleging, and I'm only saying alleging because this is her words, that Karen Civil made it clear that the only reason why she's suing Jessie Woo is to drain her of her finances. She filed the lawsuit in California. Jessie Woo resides in Atlanta. Karen Civil is willing to drop the lawsuit only if Jessie Woo apologizes, and she has to read a written apology that Karen Civil has wrote. Now, both me and Tasha K was saying the same thing. Like, what? Is this true? Like, Karen, you got to do better. But I'm not surprised. That's just it. Karen Civil, from what I've heard outside of like the brand development and the artist development and the different things that she does, her connection with Def Jam or whatever the case may be. First of all, Karen Civil has always been a woman where it's like she be everywhere and she be next to the stars, and I see stars tag her and thank her, but I don't exactly know what her title is. That's number one. I think she was working on Hillary Clinton's campaign or something like that. I could be wrong. I feel like I remember her taking a picture. I don't know. But, yeah, outside of that, Karen Civil has always had this other reputation, right? Of, allegedly doing shiesty-ish, stealing, taking money off the top. I think Cameron had put on blast. Like, she's always had that energy around her from, like, people saying that. You know what I mean? In culmination with the good. And I guess that's a given. With the good comes the bad. So I'm not surprised. I don't think Jessie Woo is lying about any of that. Now, what blew me back was this all started with her and Karen Civil, and this is where I'm going to start holding you accountable. So, Jessie Woo, the first 13 minutes or so of this, here we go, sweetie, and I'm not going to drag you or nothing. I'm just going to be fair. Now, you say the thing with you and Karen Civil kind of started and went left field or whatever the case may be is because at the time, you was running with some girl. Karen Civil allegedly stole her podcast concept. You said you kept getting phone calls from people that Karen Civil was talking about you. And when she finally put out a tweet and said, "Can you recommend black female podcasters?" you decided to be petty, reactionary, and emotional and retweeted and tagged that girl, prompting Karen Civil to call you. Y'all end up getting into a back and forth. Now let's pause. When people were calling you, my first question as she's telling this story is, why didn't you just pick up the phone and call Karen? Okay, so Jessie goes on to say that her relationship with Karen has always been transactional. And even prior to that situation, she would hear that Karen Civil was saying, "I'm not going to let Jessie into spaces." Boom, boom, boom. There would be times where Karen Civil would invite her to places, but then she would get there and she wouldn't pick up the phone. Like, she would do shady stuff. So I feel like what happened per Jessie Woo, allegedly, Karen Civil was already moving in a way that was making Jessie feel away. And that is why you inserted yourself in that beef. And we have to be honest. Now, only you, God, know the truth. But what it sounds like to me is that you already felt the way because you felt like she was moving shiesty and funny, okay? You had a sense of entitlement. We both Haitian women. You should support me, bomb, 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 whatever the case may be. You felt like she was moving shiesty. So when you seen that shit popping off with her and Mother of Gotti, because that's the girl, you inserted yourself in that. And it was not purely off the interest of let me stand up for what's right. It's let me get on my get back, and then in the midst of that is going to present that I'm standing up for what's right. Two truths coexisting at once, as we always say over here at Melanated Crowns. And this is where I always say, I'd be feeling like this is why some of these things backfire, Jessie, because intention is everything. And if your true intention was not to stand up for what is right, but in culmination of that, bust shots because of your personal issues you have, then, you reap what you sow. And the reason why I've arrived at that conclusion, because that same friend whom you jumped in that beef or whatever that was for, ended up, and this is what Jessie said on Tasha K, and this had my mouth on the floor. So now it's all coming together. You ended up saying that she called you and said, oh, Karen Civil has dropped the lawsuit against me or something like that. She said her beef was never with me. It was more so with you, this, that, and the third. And in the lawsuit, this so-called friend, I don't even think they're friends anymore. I mean, I wouldn't be friends with her right now. Basically said that you pressured her, coerced her, to be exact, into attacking Karen Civil. So Jessie Wu said, Karen Civil turned my friend against me, and she's doing all of this. She's suing me for $3 million, this, that, and the third. But here's the thing: I think Karen Civil was able to divide and conquer, because maybe Mother of Gotti looked at it like, you're not defending me. You already have pre-existing issues with Karen Civil, and you was trying to use me as the vessel to bust shots. That's what I've gathered. Now, y'all let me know. Y'all don't have to agree with the way I processed that. That is just how I digested that and was able to contextualize it. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is the gospel. That's just what it sounds. I ain't got a dog in the fight. I don't have a dog in the fight. But that's what it sounds like to me. You jumped in it because you already felt the way. And I'm just using your words. This is what you said in the interview. That even before that, Karen was already moving shifty towards you. So I just, because Jessie, you a Cancer, mama. You a Cancer. Like, that's some Cancerian shit. Y'all hold grudges. Y'all get in y'all feelings, and y'all react from emotional places. So I think that's fucked up. Like, I jump in the beef for you, and then you turn around and when this woman has the lawsuit, and is that the real reason why the podcast Brownies in the City is no longer? Because you said it was due to difference in work ethic. Is it because of that lawsuit? See, Tasha K, you dropped the ball with that one. You should have asked about that too. Or maybe you did off camera, and due to the lawsuit y'all can't discuss. But yeah, that was that. I just was like, listen, I am not too surprised that Karen Civil allegedly did these things. She is a Scorpio, and I just was like, good luck, Jessie, with that. That shit is that's just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. So then we get to the Cardi B situation and the Shaft situation. I'm not really going to rehash what was said, because there was really nothing new presented. Now, they hinted and alluded to the fact that the recordings that Lovely T released of Cardi B cursing Jessie Wu out is cut and clipped. Tasha K says she's going to have the recordings on her Patreon. I'm not paying $15 for that. I'm just not that invested. Nothing new was really said about that situation. It just wasn't. And again, even when they was talking about the contract situation, and I love how Tasha K, because I really enjoyed this interview. A lot of people said it was boring, and maybe because they came from mess, but I really enjoyed the interview. I loved how Tasha K used that salesman analogy with the car, where she said, have you ever bought a car? Twice. Each time you leave, did you leave with something different? Once. What happened? They showed you something else, right? Jessica said, yeah. Tasha said, exactly. When you are going into these meetings or whatever the case may be to sign these contracts, because they was talking about the situation with Shaft, you have to know what you want. And can't nobody, don't let nobody pressure you. And see, Jessie Woo wasn't really hearing her. And you could tell him, this is what I've gathered about Jessie. She is very comfortable being a victim. She is very comfortable being a victim, okay? Yes, she perseveres and she's doing amazing things. Once again, congratulations to her. She will be on season 16 of Wildin' Out. And she also talked about that situation too. I just don't want this to be too long. I can't go through everything. I just want to hit on the things that stuck out to me. But it's like Tasha K was giving her the game, like, listen, because Jessie Woo was like, well, you have an opportunity to walk away. Some people don't. Some people feel like, this is my chance. Like, if I don't do this and I don't do that. But Jessie, that's not the point. Yeah, I understand what it's like to have your back up against the wall and feel like, well, damn, this may be my only chance. But you got to be strong enough and have a strong enough connection with God, with the Most High, to know that what's meant for you, it shouldn't bring no strife on your life. If God really wants you to sign a contract, he's going to bring you a contract that's suited for you. Not a situation where a man is saying he spent $91,000 on you in 4 months and you ain't even been on no tour and you ain't never had a song that charted, and now you in litigation with this man and you getting cursed out by his former artist that just had to pay him $11 million. That's not the work of God. And I think with Jessica, like I've always said, I really think she lacks discernment. She allows her emotions to overtake, and she allows her want and her thirst to be in the industry to cloud her judgment and just basic intelligence. And when Tasha K was really just trying to say, like, listen, after all of these situations about contracts, y'all still doing this, and Jessie went in to try to defend it, and Tasha K shut her down, and then Jessie Woo was trying to give her pushback. I'm just like, oh, God, that Leo South Node and that Cancer Sun to just be thanging on her. Like, you got to learn how to take accountability, sweetheart. And it's amazing how you like to Cardi B, she don't need to respond to everything. And y'all know I always say that about her, so we don't even need to get into that. But you fail to realize you don't need to say everything out your mouth. So you see how that works? Take that mirror and turn it around and have a date with yourself. Spend the day with yourself. Because the same way you said Cardi B don't need to respond to everybody, you don't need to always say everything. And see, you sat in the interview and you was like, I'm just realizing people don't like the truth, especially in the industry, which is true. But when are you going to get to a point when you realize, is this truth meant to be spoken? And see, when I said this months ago when she got into it with Karen Civil, somebody tried to come under my post with this, oh, you a black woman trying to silence a black woman. No, I'm a black woman giving a suggestive approach to another black woman so that she doesn't find herself in a repetitive loop of toxicity and negativity and unproductivity. Okay? That's what I'm doing, because was it worth it for you to insert yourself in something that had nothing to do with you, going back to that podcasting situation, and bust a shot at Karen on social media, and now you in the midst of a $3 million defamation lawsuit? Huh? Was it worth it? The world ain't changed or become a better place because you decided to insert yourself in that. That was off of pure emotion. It was not necessary. We have the freedom of speech. We could do what we want. When people make us feel how we feel, we can react how we want. But we have to understand sometimes there are repercussions and consequences. And that is what I always try to encourage and suggest on this channel when I do cover hot topics, especially as it relates to reactivity and low emotional intelligence. So, that was pretty much it. I really enjoyed the interview, like I said. If they release those voice notes, maybe I'll come back and talk about it. I'm pretty much bored now. Y'all know me, Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, Rising. We burn out quick, honey. I do agree, like how she said, it really wasn't a big thing until Cardi decided to comment under the neighborhood talk, and then she sent but, I agree. And here's the thing. Multiple truths could coexist. We know Cardi B is reactionary and lacks emotional intelligence, and she could be her own worst enemy most of the time. In addition to that, so can you, Jessie. And see, that is the gag of all gags here. You and Cardi B are a mirror for each other in more ways than you know. Okay? So that's it, y'all. Y'all hit the thumbs up. Y'all let me know what y'all thought about the interview. Once again, keep it respectful, keep it polite. And yeah, y'all have a good night. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.